from Hortonworks. Ravi is about a year into Accumulo, but has many years of big data experience. We've had the pleasure of working on a joint customer together, and Ravi is awesome. And it looks like he's going to be brave enough to do a live demo here, so best of luck with that.
Thank you. All right, so it's a brief bit about me and systems architect at Hortonworks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how many of you use a Hadoop cluster? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? So how many of you use a Hadoop cluster without Nagios or Ganglia on that? Yeah, quite a few. Or not a lot, but some of you. From the field experience, like when I work with a lot of customers of Hortonworks, at least 90% or more have a metrics and alerting system based on Nagios and Ganglia. So what I'll demo here is you know that Accumulo publishes a lot of JMX metrics, right? So here I'll show you the integration between JMX metrics and how I can publish them into Ganglia, and then from there generate alerts in Nagios. Right? So it will be, I'll go through alerts, then metrics. I'll give a little bit brief about provisioning and managing using Ambari, and then a question and answer session. Okay, so here we'll be using Nagios. So here I'll be monitoring ports and process, and also monitoring metrics. First I'll go through what I did to monitor the ports, and then I'll show Ganglia, and then come back to monitoring metrics. All right. So I have a local 2-node cluster running on my laptop. So if you see here, I published the metrics as HDP Accumulo servers. And you can see here that you have a master server and then 2 tablet servers, right? 6401 and 6402. So I'll start by killing the master. So I'll show the configs, but first I'll show a demo of the alerts, and then I'll then go back into the configs. So let's see this. So this is the master here. So I'll just kill it, right? I guess it's around a minute for that, so just let me. So while the alert comes up, let me go through and the config on how my Nagios config is, right? So I have a host group called Accumulo T servers, where I put every T server that I have in Accumulo. Yeah, so since T server listens to this or listens to 9997, so I put a I'm sorry. Thanks. So in this case, can you hear me? Better. Okay. Yeah, so I'm monitoring this port 9997. That's for port monitoring. Yeah, so you see here that my master process is in a critical state. So I have 3 attempts on that. Once all the 3 fail, I'll get an email. I just configured my email as well for this. Okay, so this is a simple case of port monitoring. So I just listen to the port. If it's down, give an alert, and then send an email or any configure the alerting system.
Could you increase the font size on your web page, like do a
Yeah, actually, other pages like it's. Let me check here. Okay. Okay, and I have an email saying that my master process is down. This is my host. The state is critical. Okay. I'll just start all to see that master came back. Right, so this is a simple TCP wrapper to listen to the ports. So I can create for all the process that can listen. Then there's also a Ganglia check where, so since Accumulo publishes all the metrics as JMX, so what I did was used JMX trans to push them. There are other tools as well that can read JMX metrics and put them in Ganglia writer. So I used JMX trans. So in this case, this is a case of where we check for Ganglia, look for Accumulo ingest. If it is 50, it's a warning. If it is 60, then it says it's a critical state. Same thing with scan average time. If it's these are not. So I just took samples. So this is not something that you'll actually check, but I just want to show how you can monitor some of those JMX metrics. So Accumulo scan average time. This is what I'm trying to monitor. If it is 4, I give a warning. If it is anything over 6, so it's a critical state. And this is my Ganglia port that I am listening to write the metrics. I'm running a continuous scanner now to see that one of the metric goes over, and then I can show you as an alert, right? So this is the recovery email that I get since. So in this case, like if my master, I put a supervisor D or something to let it start automatically if it goes down. So I'll also get a recovery email, so I don't need to literally go and see what's going on, right? I'll go through some of the configs while these alerts pop up. So this is my JMX trans config. So where I give the host name, this is the port where I'm listening to, this is the JMX port. So if I go and look at my Accumulo ENV, right? So this is the port my T server JMX is writing to. So on my JMX trans, I read from here, and I write to a JMX port on 9666, right, on this machine. Similarly, for the second server as well, I write on the same. So even for 6401, I'm writing to the same 6402 for the matrix. Yeah. So it reads from 12.12341 on the second one as well, and writes to the Ganglia that's running on 6402. So again, so the flow is that we have these JMX JMX data metrics, which are JMX trans reads and then publishes to Ganglia writer. And once Ganglia has it, if there is alert, then the Nagios takes care of an alert based on this one. Yeah, so you see that there's a critical error here saying that so it's right now it says the scan time is 60. We configure it to be I think around 4 or 5 to give an alert. Same, yeah. So you get an email, right, with the config. All right. This is my Ganglia screen with the Accumulo servers. It's a configuration where I put all my Accumulo servers. If I go to 6402, it's from 6401. So this is my last hour's scan. The average is 6.95, which actually issues that alert that turned up here, right? So we have seen some the Nagios config to get the alerts. Then 1 minute. So we used the JMX metrics that came in, and we used Ganglia, and JMX trans is what we used. Then there's a JMX ectric or JMX-trick. That's another JMX tool that publishes metrics onto Ganglia from JMX. Right. Some of the configuration that you saw here for Ganglia and Nagios. So since there are a lot of moving components and lots of configs that you see there, some of it was automated using Ambari. Not everything was automated, but I could put whatever I could generate using Ambari. So, so when I start or stop Ambari, all these, if I create a new node, that's a tree server, the configs are automatically added by Ambari. I'll just go through a brief overview of Ambari. Ambari is a Apache licensed on Apache project that is used for monitoring and provisioning Hadoop clusters. Right. So I can provision, I can manage, start and stop using Ambari. In this demo, I showed the starting and stopping master from a command line. Not from Ambari, but that's something that we are right now adding onto Ambari for Accumulo. Rest all, it's already there. So it's a 100% open source project, about 60 contributors, 30 committers on this. It was a top level project in December 2013. And there's a release almost every month these days. So there's 1.5.0 in April, and then 1.6 this May. 1.7 is coming pretty soon. This is a brief overall architecture of how Ambari looks. There's an Ambari server. There are agents running on all hosts. And there's a REST API that you see on clusters and the web UI, right? So Ambari web is a JavaScript based thing. All agents that run on each node is Python. Then the overall server is Java, and where it stores the data, it can be any RDBMS. Right now we support Oracle, MySQL and Postgres. So when I start the server and agents, so there's a, I can probably skip through this. So this is how the handshake happens for the Ambari server to connect to all agents on on all the hosts. So if you see the current Ambari project, it doesn't directly have support to Accumulo. So what I tried doing was adding use some of these extensions that Ambari provides. So one is stacks, then there's blueprints, and then there's views, right? So if you so currently there's a stack called HDP 2.1, but you can go and create new stacks there. Accumulo itself, like HDP 2.1, already has Accumulo RPMs, but if you want a new repo with your own RPMs there, you can extend the current existing stack and add those. So each stack has a repo, so which you can extend, right? And then there are service definitions in an XML and a set of command scripts. So like when you want to start or stop any of a service, you have a corresponding command scripts in Python. So again, so the Ambari server reads the stack definition, sends this stack definition to all the agents and communicates with agents. So the definition itself is only on the server and not on all the agents. So there's a new concept in 1.6.1 where Ambari blueprints was added, where you can define a stack, a set of hosts, and it will automatically give you a cluster out of your blueprint. So this will be a complete automated install where you define everything that you need to know in your that you want in your blueprint, and it will give you a cluster as an output. Right. So you submit a blueprint, you give it to Ambari, and the output is a Hadoop cluster. The next extensibility is views, where so the goal is to Ambari has a custom UI, and if you want to extend it or have a different view on top, so you can go and extend by using the views. So it's so a developer creates the view and then he can submit it, and then just restart the server. You should be seeing the new views here. So this is a very brief overview of what Ambari is. Right. So the project homepage is here at ambari.apache.org. There's also a project called Apache Slider, which Billy will talk about, which is Accumulo on Yarn, where so you can deploy all your process as a Yarn process. If you want to try Accumulo on the sandbox, you can just download the sandbox and do a yum install Accumulo, and you'll have a running version of Accumulo like in 10 minutes. All right, any questions?
How much overhead is there in running these metrics?
So if you see the JMX metrics, they are already published, right? Okay, the question was what's the overhead of these metrics? So I went through the config where I already see these metrics. Like if you see the JMX, unless you disable the metrics, you see some of them already published. There's a way to disable that, but there's a set of metrics that you can see on JMX already. So in this case, what I'm using is just reading those metrics and publishing to Ganglia. Right? It's not an additional matrix on the processor itself, on the process, Accumulo process itself. It's just reading the existing JMX metrics that are there. Yeah.
Do you use blueprints to add nodes to an existing cluster, or is that strictly for create?
It's actually just for create, and then you can go and add. There's a REST API to add it.